when my kids go trick-or-treating, they love to just walk and walk and walk. They never want to come home, but eventually that bucket that they're carrying gets just too heavy to hold. So this year, I decided to make them a tote bag. I wanted something that they could carry over their shoulder, that I could carry on my shoulder when inevitably I get to carry it for them. And bonus, I wanted it to be reversible, because that's just more fun, and glow in the dark. So here's what I came up with. A glow in the dark, reversible tote bag. It's a little large, so it will hold lots of candy, but I think it's gonna work out great. Let me show you how I did it. Hi, I'm Julie Patterson of JCT Quilting, and I want to help you turn your memories into quilted treasures. In this video, we're not going to quilt something, but we are going to make something that will help us make memories. We're going to make a reversible tote bag, and I'm using glow-in-the-dark fabric just to add another layer of fun. I made this with really long straps, because that's just how I like bags, and my kids didn't mind. And it's a large bag, so they can hold lots of candy. In the description for this video, I will include information, a PDF that you can get to show more, to walk you through the steps and tell you the dimensions that I used, and of course you can tweak that if you want. You could also make it quilted. So on the front I just have fabric. You could instead make this a quilted panel, same with the inside. So you can make it how you want. You can make the straps longer. Mine are about 36 inches. The typical strap length is 28. So it is a good deal longer, but just like that. Fluff out the corners a little bit. We have a reversible tote. This side's a little more trick-or-treaty festive, but either way will work. So let's get started on making this reversible glow-in-the-dark tote. I am making 2 reversible totes, so I need a yard of each fabric. I'm starting by cutting my strips. For the straps, you can also use webbing. My straps are cut to 2 inches by 36 inches, and I need 4 of those strips, 2 for each bag. And then each panel piece for the bag is approximately 16.5 inches by 18 inches. So I need 2 panels per bag, or 4 total for the 2 bags, so that I can have a panel on the front and the back of each bag. Since the tote is reversible, I wanted the straps to be reversible as well. So take 1 of each fabric, put it right sides together for the straps. And then for the tote panel pieces, you'll keep the fabrics together if you want the same fabric on the front and back of the bag. We will now use a 1/4 inch seam to sew down both sides of the strap pieces. Don't sew across the top and the bottom because we need that to turn this right side out, but do sew all the way down the side on both sides of the straps. For the tote pieces, sew right sides together with a 1/4 inch seam on 3 sides, the 2 sides and then the bottom piece. Leave the top open, we'll get to that later. When you get to the corner, you can sew off the edge and then start again with the next side, or you can pivot, whatever you prefer. Make sure you sew the 3 sides on both pairs of the panel pieces. Now we need to turn the straps right side out. If you're using webbing, you don't need to do this step. To turn it right side out, you're just going to sit and fiddle with it and take it little by little. Push a little up, pull a little through. Just keep working at it and eventually the whole piece will come through. Once it's complete and right sides are out, use your fingers or use an iron to flatten out those seams and those edges, help it to lay a little flatter. Now we're going to box the corners of the panels by cutting a 1.5 inch corner. First, I'm going to use a pen to mark off the 1.5 inches in each of the bottom 2 corners on both of the panel pairs. Then I'm going to use scissors, or you could use your rotary cutter to cut out those squares. I find with scissors I can get a more precise cut and not accidentally overcut this space. And again, you're doing this on both of the bottom corners on both of your panels, so you'll end up doing it 4 times. Now we're going to sew those box corners. If you use your fingers to pull the fabric apart and then line up the seams, you'll find that you're actually left with a straight line that you can sew. Honestly, the first time I made a bag, I was surprised that this worked out so well, but I find that it's a great way to add some dimension to the bag, add a little depth, and a little character. Sew your 4 boxed corners or the 2 bottom corners on each panel set. I also like to add some decorative top stitching to my shoulder straps, so I use a 1/4 inch seam and I sew down both sides of my shoulder straps. I find this provides a nice decorative finish in addition to providing a little more stability to the strap itself. Now we're ready to put it all together. Remember, when we sew, we put right sides together. So the first thing we need to do is take one of the panel pairs, it doesn't matter which because it's a reversible tote, and flip it right side out. Grab the corners, straighten them out a little bit, though you'll have another opportunity to do that again later as well. And then we're going to line up the straps on this right side out panel set. It's up to you where you want to place the straps. Figure out what looks good to you. I placed each strap approximately 4 to 5 inches from the edge. So you can see I lined it up and then I count over. I also wanted to make sure that the fabric matched. So I wanted the pumpkin fabric on the strap to match when I use the reversible tote. So lay the fabric from the strap that matches the fabric of the panel right sides together, and then it will line up correctly when you're using your tote. You also want to make sure the strap is laying flat. You don't want it to be twisted or curved. This is your opportunity to get it the correct direction. I also like to overhang my straps about 1/4 inch off the edge just to make sure I fully get it when I'm sewing. Now we're going to tuck the straps and that one panel inside the other panel. Again, the way to remember this is that we sew right sides together. So the right side on this other panel is on the inside of the bag, so we need to put everything inside the bag. Then you want to make sure the 2 panel sets line up. Start by lining up the seam down the sides, and these seams should nest. Even though we didn't iron them, you can still nest them and then put a pin or the binder clips in place. I'm using clips here because the straps are a little thicker and the clips just seem to work better for me, but you could also use a pin if you prefer. So line up the seams on both outer edges, those outside seams of the bags. The straps are already pinned to the inside panel, and now we're going to include the outside panel to these pins or clips, whatever you're using. So make sure it's lined up and flat, and then undo the clip or the pin, include that outside panel, and then clip it back together. We want to keep all 3 layers, the strap, the inside panel, and the outside panel, together. Don't forget to flip it over and attach the straps on the other side as well. And then if you want to go through and add more pins or more clips, you are certainly welcome to do so. That's a matter of personal preference. Now we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam across the top. Leave approximately a 3 inch gap. I like to leave it in between the straps on one of the sides, and we'll use that gap to turn it right side out when we're done sewing this piece. Now it's time to turn it right side out. Carefully pull everything through that 3 inch gap that you left. Little by little. This is easier than the shoulder straps, so it goes a little faster too. Once everything is turned out, you might want to stick your hand in the hole to fluff out the 4 corners, and then finger press so that around the top it's laying flat. Now we're going to add a decorative top stitch around the top edge, and as a bonus, we will also close that hole that we left. I recommend sewing this top stitch at approximately a scant 1/4 inch. You want to make sure you fully close that gap and you catch all the raw edges of that gap. And if you sew at a 1/4 inch, you might miss some of the raw edges. So sew a scant 1/4 inch or just inside of the 1/4 inch seam. Make sure you fully pick up those raw edges, and then the rest is just a decorative seam around the top. Your reversible tote is now complete and ready for memory making and wonderful adventures. My kids could not wait to try out the tote. We immediately went to the dark laundry room and were excited to see that the fabric did indeed glow in the dark, and each kid had to try out the tote, see what it looked like with both sides of the bag, and they are now ready and even more excited to go trick-or-treating on Halloween. Thank you for watching this video. I hope the tutorial was helpful, and I look forward to seeing what you make. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you next time.